So there's a set lifespan, and we need to know in this lifespan what our purpose is. And why is it impossible, even today, to produce something like the Quran? Because the genre and in the language of the Quran is such that it is not imitable. Do you see my three-fingered green monster? You can't, because it's invisible. So it could be that green monster, right? Children, they can give us life again and again and again.
They could, but it would be a different...
No, the same child that dies. The fact that our parents were not able to give us life if we died, it means they don't have the ability to give us life. So they were only a means, a process for us to come into existence, but life is not theirs to give in the first place. Who gave us life then? Not you, not your parents.
Chance.
There's nothing called chance. Chance is our ignorance of the factors behind any equations. That's why we call it chance.
Universe is ruled by law.
Don't make you be a
Right. You see, the belief not in a creator is actually an emotional one, not a rational one. People don't believe in atheism because of rational inference.
I think that's exactly why they believe that.
I just given you a rational explanation why atheism is totally irrational. Because now we have a belief system in which...
You've given it to me. I didn't necessarily agree to it.
What do you disagree on the examples I've given you so far and the arguments?
The fact that somebody had to will us into existence.
If there was no willing into existence, you wouldn't be in this form.
So that's exactly where our paths diverge.
And I'm just telling you, you can't have a cup of tea without someone willing it.
Yes.
You know that. Your rational faculty will say that is the case.
Willed it into existence. You're exactly right.
The humans did not will the sun and the moon into existence.
No.
Right. Someone or something did. And that someone and something,
Big Bang, yes.
Big Bang is just an effect. What's the cause?
Elements, minerals, crashing together.
No. Big Bang, through these Big Bangs, matter arose. What caused it?
We don't know.
Right.
Something.
But why would your logical assumption be to jump to some creator?
It's not jumping.
Because I would make the argument that absence of a creator is just, you say that's illogical, I would say it's just as illogical to assume there's some creator.
No, it's like saying, for example, no one made this.
To me, it doesn't make sense. I would say that...
Would you say something made this?
To me, it's equally as illogical. That to think that there is someone up in the sky or wherever that controls everything that you do, has made everything that we see, can cause natural disasters or save you from one. To me, that doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Before we start making sense about how the world operates, under which law, under which natural laws of disaster, laws of this and that, first we have to affirm, if we are here now, there has to be always something. You postulated there was matter.
There's always been something.
Now, so let's go back. At some point there was always something. That something, do you agree, possesses certain attributes inherently?
Yeah, but I don't know what they were.
Fine, no problem. But
So,
you agree the something has inherent attributes which wasn't acquired from anyone else or anything else.
yeah, but just because we don't know where it originated doesn't mean that something had to have some being or some omniscient person put it there, right? So in the old days, right, they thought people being sick had bad humors that had to be leaked from their body, right? Now we have science, we understand what causes disease, what causes things. Maybe we just haven't learned that yet.
No, what we're saying is, this is not a scientific question, it's a philosophical question.
Oh,
Science
okay,
cannot
so
do...
I'm a scientist.
No. Science can answer questions of metaphysics.
Exactly.
Because you need to understand the scope of science.
Exactly.
Science doesn't deal with metaphysical questions about God, which is beyond any experimentation. And science itself, axiomatically, is based on metaphysics.
Exactly.
The whole scientific method.
Explain the natural world.
Yeah. So let's, you see, when we say something exists and it must inherently possess some attributes, these attributes are not acquired. Possessed. Attributes are possessed by this something. What I'm saying is, you are making this something into an originator, transformer of what we are today. I don't disagree with that, but I'm saying the properties that you're giving to this something, let's try to understand what they are, because eventually it will be understood that the properties that you give, the properties that I say are the same. I'm saying matter or things that something always existed inherently possesses attributes of perfection, no limitations, self-sufficiency. It didn't acquire anything, so whatever it had is self-sufficient. If it had knowledge, it doesn't need an extra knowledge from something because nothing gave it knowledge. Inherently possesses knowledge. If you call it matter and I call it God, the difference is this property of knowledge is something that is not going to be limited by anything. There's been no constraint because it did not acquire from anyone or anything. It just possessed by itself. So this will have no limitation. So in one hand you have matter with knowledge and God with knowledge. Matter with will and God with will. Matter, yes, with will and power decides to make this universe or multiverses. God decides universe or multiverses. What you're doing is you're simply saying, why do I call it God, right? Yeah. It's semantics, but conceptually, this agency, which is self-aware, with its own will, creates this universe. Now, why did it create this universe? Do you think this thing, this matter, can communicate? Communication in everywhere, in our DNA communication. Why would we not expect some communication from it?
Sure, in the form of gravity.
The gravity is just the law that is placed within our reality. So, if I were to ask you, why did the thing, which is you call matter, if you ask me, I will tell you why did God create the universe and human beings. We have a communication from this originator.
Yes, communicated to me, yeah.
Okay, so now, how would we know where the communication could be? This is the next step, because you accept there is something that possesses power, energy, possesses will, possesses knowledge and self-awareness. All of this, you are telling me, actually indicative of a personal agency.
So, I think what you're saying is, we believe in the same thing, we're just calling it two
That's what
different
he
things.
said.
Yeah, semantics. So we have now only a semantic difference. So we don't disagree much, but what we're saying is, next thing is, if we are originated by this originator, next question we should ask is, why? What is the purpose of our creation? Our creation, look at this, look, your shoes have a purpose. Your gloves have a purpose. Your body, individual components and parts have a purpose. Your eyes don't digest food, my friend. It is for vision, right? You did not, neither your parents sat down with a blueprint and say, the eye's purpose will be to acquire vision. The purpose and function was set. Everything was set. What's the purpose? All of your body together. It's not to have a cigar and say, and enjoy your life.
We don't know.
No.
That's the purpose.
It's not about what we decide, because we did not decide the purpose of our liver to digest, to metabolize. We did not decide the purpose of our kidneys to filter. Exactly. I didn't decide any of that. Right. So as a whole, the function of a human being is not something that I can say, oh, this is my purpose. It has to come from the one who designed us, one who created us, one who originated us.
We have no free will then.
No, we have free will.
Step by step.
Free will? Are you compelled to speak? Are you compelled to speak now? Are you speaking on your free will?
Yes.
Yes, of course. But you're saying we have no choice in our purpose.
No. What I'm saying is, we cannot decide. The purpose of my life is to know what is the best restaurant and have the best food. People can say that, but that's not bad. It's a purpose that you are setting. Just like somebody says the purpose of my life is to kill the black people or to kill the white people, you know, the racist attitudes and so on. We can't say this is the purpose why we are here. So God that we believe in has communicated to us in the form of Quran through agency called prophets and messengers, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ being the last one, and told us why we are created and what our purpose of our life here is. The way to know that is actually looking at these communications, because firstly we have to be open to the possibility of communication, because communication is within ourselves, in our DNA. It's everywhere. The signature is in the cell. It's all there. So it is not impossible or improbable to say and assume our originator can communicate and tell us why he's created. I mean, it makes no sense. Someone creates this camera and this tripod, and then it has no purpose. Exactly. No purpose. You will say, such a sophisticated system, and no purpose, it doesn't make any sense. So if we see the whole universe with all this complex organization, it's only sensible to say and infer there is a purpose behind all of this. So we say our Creator told us what this purpose is. It's to know and be grateful to our Creator. Some people understand this by saying this means worshipping. It's a very loaded term. You might immediately say, I don't want to worship God, but it's to be grateful.
Term, yeah.
Imagine I was walking along the street and a car came over me, God forbid, injured in an accident. You, my friend, saw this, called the ambulance, went to the ambulance in the hospital, and you gave me blood and you gave me one of your kidneys to save me. And I wake up a week later. I hear this from the nurses. What you have done to me. Did you do that because you want some money from me? Because you probably say, okay, I probably haven't got a job or something, right? You didn't do this anything because, you did this because maybe, you will be known as a hero or something. You did it out of your own generosity, your compassion, your care, being a human being, right? Your kindness. Now, I wake up and I hear this story. What am I going to say? Get lost? What would be my natural response? My natural response should be...
If it was me, you might.
My natural response should be, thank you. Gratitude is my natural response. So when we have two kidneys, the heart, the brain, the liver, stomach, everything together, the food for our sustenance, the air to breathe and do all this gaseous exchange,
Appreciation.
why are we not being grateful to our one who gave us all of this? So this is what it means to be grateful to all of this. And if we were to be in this phase of gratefulness in the way that is acceptable, that becomes worship. That is what is required of us. Not simply to reject God, not simply to reject and be a stubborn and arrogant and then say, get lost, I didn't want your kidneys and your blood to save me. That would be really unfair. So when we look at our lives, we know that we will die one day, and that's another program in our DNA.
Exactly.
Apoptosis, programmed cell death. Right? We are programmed to die. So the one who created us also programmed us to die. So there's a set lifespan, and we need to know in this lifespan what our purpose is. If we didn't fulfill our purpose and we die, do you think our end is going to be the same? Someone who is a good person and someone who's a bad person, the worms comes and eat both of them. And that's the same thing? No. Justice demands that there will be, there should be, there must be a day of judgment in which the good is rewarded and the bad is accountable for what they've done. The rapists shouldn't get away. They might get away in this country or in Brazil or somewhere else where, because they have power and might, and they rape and they torture and oppress and they kill and they live like a king and they die like a king, and that's it.
Has to be justice.
But where is justice? Justice demands, even a 3-year-old knows justice. Snatch a toy from him, his own toy. He will start crying and say, give it back to me, because he knows justice is violated. So it's inherent within us that justice is something that we all share inherently across communities. Doesn't matter whether you are English or German, whatever, we understand what justice is. So we know the rapist and the ethnic cleanser and the murderer shouldn't get away in this life. There has to be accountability. So they will be an accountability. Based on what? Again, a set way of living. Did they fulfill the purpose of what they were required to do? So as Muslims, our purpose is to worship God, as explained through Prophet Messenger in how we worship God. So when you smile at your brother, that's worship. When you take a thorn from the ground and you prevent other ones being pricked by it and then blood's coming out, becomes worship. When you see a person who is on the street dying out of starvation, they have no food, and you offer them food, that's worship. So worship is not just going to a place of worship like a mosque and you just be thankful to God. Worship is a very broad term in which whatever God is pleased with, He accepts from you, as He has taught His prophets and messengers. That becomes worship. So as Muslims, we're not asking you to simply abandon what you already know, that there is an originator who created us for a purpose. We're asking you to finally tune yourself with your heart and mind, and then live your life accordingly as Muslims.
You said something in there, it's the word of Allah.
Yeah.
Right? So does it have, that's the worship. What if, that's created by man, correct?
No. We say the creator.
It was written down, interpreted by man.
Yeah, I can write a letter and send it to my brother. It doesn't mean because he gave it to, it's his letter. He's just a messenger.
Exactly.
The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a messenger, received the guidance, the Quran from God.
Printed, if you will.
No, in his heart, and he got it written,
Okay, so
got it memorized, he recited. Quran is a recital.
never got
It's
it
in the
written.
hearts, in the mind. It's an oral recitation, but you can write it. You can produce a book called the Quran, and you can read it. So in this Quran is where the guidance is. We're not asking you to simply just read book of Harry Potter. We're asking you to read the Quran, which we claim it's from our creator, originator, that we agree with. Semantically, we may have differences, but we agree. And once you read the Quran, it will tell you. It will speak to your heart, because it's not asking you to believe. In fact, it reprimands people by saying, I'm going to stick to my parents' religion because that's what I was born in. No, it says, no, what if even your parents were wrong? So it tells you, look, do you not see? Go and travel in the land. قُلْ سِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَانظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ. And it continues like this. Go and travel and see how God originated the creation. It says, do you not see? In the alteration of the heavens and the earth, night and day, there are signs for people who reflect. And interestingly, the Quran actually addresses the people who are skeptics and atheists or don't have a belief. It says, أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ أَفَلَا يُؤْمِنُونَ أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. Do not the unbelievers see? What I read to you was the Quran in Arabic. So it gives you one level of confidence that we don't just making up and changed what God said 1400 years ago through his prophet. It's exactly how it was delivered to us. It's exactly how we are conveying to you. Do not the unbelievers see, or have they not known, that the heavens and the earth was joined together as one piece and God parted it asunder? And would they, and not only that, the next thing goes, and God brought every living thing from water, and ends by saying, would they then not believe? Look at how the Quran is engaging with people of skepticism and disbelief in a creator. It addresses them, and it doesn't simply say, and then you don't believe, go to hell. It says, no. Would you then not believe at the end? And it gives you in the middle some substance for them to think and reflect. And what does it do? It gives you example, arguments from astrophysics and biology in one verse. That astrophysics, in which the common origin of the universe, that everything, the earth and everything beyond the earth as one singularity. And there was a forceful separation. Rataq and fataq in Arabic is such that it's like huge, separation like this. Okay? Well, you hear the Big Bang, where there's a separation through inflation and so on and so forth. So that's what Quran is saying. Have you not known it already? Well, now we know that was the case, but Quran didn't stop there. It says every living thing was brought from water. Look at all living things. More than 70% is cytoplasm, it's water. All living, that's why when in Mars we say, was there life? We ask, was there any water? So the Quran, why is so important? 1444 years ago, a man living in a desert, unlettered, who did not go deep down a volcano to know all living organisms are made of water, or go into the deep down oceanic bottom of the oceans to find all these zooplanktons and others, tiny macroscopic plants or other organisms, which is also living and is made of water. Did he have powerful telescopes to say that this is how we can observe the redshift, the stars receding from each other, and we know the cosmic background radiation with Hubble telescope? He had access to none of that. In fact, at that time, the common predominant belief system of the scientists and philosophers was static universe. The universe it doesn't expand, it's just like that. It's there. Or some other universes where the universe is like an egg and then God came out of it. Quran filters all these erroneous belief concepts and it offers you something and then it tells you, would you then not believe? So what is the Quran engaging with? It's engaging with your heart and mind at the same time. Because if you want proof and evidence, Quran is offering you that. you think one is not sufficient, it's giving you two in one verse. And this is just one example from one particular theme about the expansion of the universe, about the origin of the universe. Quran talks about how God created the universe and He is expanding it. وَإِنَّ لَهُ لَمُوسِعُونَ. He is the expander Himself, expanding it in a process where it's expanding. But it didn't stop there. The Quran also tells you that God will eventually, at some point later, will roll it back like a scroll, a contraction. And scientists today affirm common origin of the universe, affirm the universe expanding, and now theorizing about what will happen to our universe. Is it going to continue to expand, or is it going to contract? Or is it going to be an expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction? Because Quran offers another level, that after this contraction, there will be another creation, even greater. So the possibility scientists are coming up with that the universe will again be recreated, Quran is already telling you about that. A man in a desert, you should ask, haven't been to school, haven't learned from anyone, any philosophers. In fact, the philosophical schools at that time went against this. He's telling you all of that. He's telling you in the womb of your mothers, you were created in successive stages, one after the other. From one stage in which you was like this, and the next stage, you were like a leech-like organism, leech. Now we know in 21 days, the human embryo not only resembles a leech morphologically, it functions like leech. It sucks through the embryonic, the umbilical cord. And if you open up a leech and dissect it, and you will see all these somites, just like what you see in a human embryo, the somites as they develop later. So how does someone know without a microscope the development of a human embryo 1440 something years ago, when people believed at that time in pre-formation theory until 1746? Van Leeuwenhoek came with his microscope and whatever, right? Brother, even. They believed in things like pre-formation theory, that in the sperm itself, there's a miniature human being. It just grows bigger and bigger with menstrual blood. And they actually believed, even in 1673 by Van Leeuwenhoek, by having this microscope, scientists claim they actually saw that. We know that that wasn't the case. But even then, we're talking about 16th, 17th century. The Quran, when it was saying something like this, and the commentators of the Quran, when they were dealing with the scientists of the time, they say, look, the scientists argue with us. We say this is revelation. Okay, our Quran says otherwise to what it is. But they accepted it by saying, okay, this is a revelation from God. Only 1,000 years later to know that this is the case. So the Quran is such a book, friends, that it not only tells you what things are in reality, it offers proof at the same time about itself. It's not like someone making a claim. They make a claim and offer the proof of its claim at the same time, because you can believe in anything without proof otherwise. So God has been so merciful and kind and just to us by giving us a book as a universal guidance, and He will guide us continuously throughout times. It will not come to a point where we will say, like, how do we get an evidence for this Quran? So we have just given you an introduction to how the Quran tells our purpose in our life, gives us why we should believe in this Quran, and also what does one thing. You said you're a scientist. We go by falsification tests. In our scientific method, you can say, hey, this is my hypothesis, this is how you can prove me wrong, this is my experimental setup, see if you can prove it or disprove it. The Quran offers falsification tests. If you can falsify this Quran with this valid test, then you can be certainly sure that the Quran is not from the originator, from the creator. So it offers something more for our laziness. Because you might be lazy and say, no, I'm not going to accept any of that, but Quran says, okay, fine, there's a way to disprove it if it's not from God. An example is Quran talks about an individual called Abu Lahab. No. This is his nickname. And the Quran says this person will go to the hellfire. Yeah? And he will be burning in the hellfire and so on and so forth. Look at how this could have been easily falsified. Easy. This particular individual could have simply said, I believe I'm a Muslim. If you're a Muslim, you go to heaven. You could have disproved the Quran. This individual lived for 10 years or more after this Quran came with this particular chapter, surah. 10 years of opportunity to disprove the Quran by simply saying, even as a hypocrite, don't believe in the heart, but you say in public, I believe, look, I'm praying with you, I'm fasting, I'm giving charity, I'm going to go and do the circumambulation in the Hajj. He can do that as a hypocrite. But he was prevented from doing so because God knew the future of this individual, that because of his arrogance and stubbornness, he's not going to believe. So he made that into a self-evidence to the people, like, look, this individual is an open testimony in front of you that he will not accept. So this was back then. The Quran said, if you doubt this book is from God, produce a book like it, 10 chapters like it, or one chapter like it, one surah like this Quran. So the Arabs, who were very good in their poetry, masters and skilled in their poetry, in their literature, they could have easily matched the Quran if it came from a human being, like an unlettered individual. Why were they unable to do so? Instead, they said this is magic, because they knew it was beyond them. We can imitate Shakespeare. ChatGPT, you can do it now and it will produce a sonnet. I've seen it myself. That's it. Very nice, not perfect, but it still does it. I asked ChatGPT the same question about Quranic imitation. I have a whole more than 1 hour video helping ChatGPT, giving it what the objective criteria of the. Eventually it said it's not possible because of the stylistics of the Quran. Okay? On DawahWise channel, you can find that video. I'm pushing it to give you all the tools it needs to produce a chapter like in the Quran. Because human beings, excuse me, humans, critics of Islam have failed. Critics are failing and have failed. So maybe artificial intelligence can support. Even that cannot. So why was it impossible, and why is it impossible even today to produce something like the Quran? Because the genre and the language of the Quran is such that it is not imitable. You might not appreciate that because it's a linguistic thing, but the Quran offers lots of other falsification tests. Like it says, if it was not from God, you would find within it many discrepancies, many contradictions, many errors. Now that is something that is within your ability to falsify. Because what do we expect? A book which claims to be from God, talks about science, history, anthropology, everything. Now, if it was 1400 years ago and it talks about science and it prophesies something, we know we're going to make mistakes because people's knowledge was limited about the world. We continuously develop and upgrade our knowledge about the reality. Quantum mechanics wasn't a thing a few hundred years ago. But now we know another level of understanding of our world, in a micro world, rather in a quantum world. So when the Quran talks about natural phenomena, about science, you expect it to get wrong, mistakes. But how is it that the Quran avoids all these mistakes and brings about things which are phenomenally remarkable? If I were to give you something very mundane and simple examples, describe me a mountain. A mountain, in the briefest description.
Oh, you want a description?
Yeah.
There's a peak to it.
Yeah, there's a peak to it.
Rocky.
Yeah, that's it.
Why does the Quran say that?
The Quran, when it describes a mountain, you know what it says? It says mountains are like pegs.
Pegs.
Wait, sorry, I've got a question now.
Can I deal with the mountain and then I'll take your question?
Deal with the mountain.
Mountains first. Mountain, what is a peg? When you go tenting and camping, most of the peg is underground and only a little bit is at the top. Mountains are exactly like that. They have roots that go far beyond the ground than what the surface elevation is. Yeah, it's like the tip of the, an iceberg. Now, if you didn't know that from reading geology textbooks and learning about basic things, you wouldn't have a thought about it. Because no one can go and say, let me dig and see if mountains are like that. It's not open to common sense, because all you see is a surface elevation. But the Quran is saying mountains are like pegs. You need to start thinking and wondering, how is this knowledge possible to someone when the tools are not even there? You need sonars, right? Yeah. to see and say, there's still these rocky mountains and so on and so forth. You can't dig and find out, it's like a mountain. The Quran talks about interoceanic waves in deep oceans. Did you know that? They exist?
Well, I know that they exist. I didn't know what the ground
Yeah.
that they
So
exist.
we know surface waves. If you've gone to the oceans and the seas, you know there are surface waves, right? But in deep oceans, excuse me, there are interoceanic currents, like waves. You can't go with yourself without the tools or a submarine or this gear and observe them. It's not open to like this fishermen in the past and so on and so forth. You can't see them. It's not observable.
Well, you're talking about the trade winds, or
I'm talking about interoceanic waves in deep seas. They are called deep sea currents.
Your wife understands.
Deep sea currents.
so fishermen thousands of years ago did know about them.
No, they didn't know about interoceanic waves.
You didn't have to take
No, this is
sea currents.
They knew about the surface waves.
Surface.
We're talking about waves which are
About
deep.
the deep sea currents too.
Perhaps you can share with us who knew this. Share this information.
The Polynesians knew about that.
Have you read any of the works in which they describe this?
Well, they did it by word of mouth, much like the original Quran.
We're talking about information which we can have grounded and we can be sure, right? So there are many things we can say, like, look, did people know that the human embryo is in the shape of a leech, for example? You might say,
That could have been metaphor too.
But what happens is when you look at the examples in sequence, from a nutfa, which is like a drop. So in fact, the blastula, which becomes morula and so on and so forth, when it develops, is actually a spherical shape. This is what the Quranic word nutfa refers to, very minute. And the Quran and the hadith of the Prophet, from the way it explains that not all of the fluid is required, only a part of it. I'm just making it as generic as possible with children around. It's only a minute, the quintessence is required to fertilize the ovum. Right? So the Quran seems to give description one after the other in such an order, and all of them, you can't just simply say it's a metaphor or it's a coincidence, because it doesn't add up, because it's too much of a coincidence and too much of a metaphorical description when we see that the reality is exactly parallel like that. So I give you examples of the interoceanic waves, which you claim the Polynesians knew it. Okay, I will go and read more about it and see actually whether they indeed know it or not. I'm not a person who would just blindly say, nope, of course they can't know it. I will go and look into it. But I would rather see if someone has some positive thing to share already. One thing I did check extensively is about when the Quran talks about every living thing was made from water. Look, many Greek philosophers talk about the origins of life. They talk about different elements: fire, earth, water, ether, and so on and so forth. Or everything was matter, life, non-life, like Thales of Alexandria. Okay? Who talked about water alone? Yeah, just want to wrap up. Right. I am saying Quran is quite specific. It talks about living things, and I have not seen whether in the Greek philosophers and scientists in their works, or in the Eastern philosophers in their works, whether it's in the Hindu books of Upanishad and Veda and so on and so forth. So it's just like a very unique claim the Quran is making. I am not saying this is a miracle, I am saying this is remarkable. How does someone know this? If you say the Quran claims it's from God, then it makes sense. God, who is all knowledgeable about these things, of course he would know. So this example is to illustrate to you there are certain things in the Quran which will make you think and reflect, how does this Quran know this unless it's really from God? That's what we are asking you to reflect and study and read the Quran and say, because semantically we may have that differences, but actually our differences are very minute.
No, I
we believe,
totally agree with you.
yeah.
I don't understand how scientifically advanced Arabics were back then either.
How long are you going to be
Sorry, I
married to
missed-
him?
15 years. I've already been married 15 years.
So I
Made her an atheist.
But you are no longer an atheist as you stand today, because you believe.
Worship with a few beers.
But you're no longer an atheist. You believe in the existence of an agency that created and originated this universe. That's not atheism.
I hope he doesn't mix up potato.
That's not atheism. No. Brother, that was only a joke. It's not meant to insult him. I apologize if you feel in any way offended.
He's not offended. offended.
Right, I apologize if you feel anyway. It's just to show you the ridiculousness or absurdity of certain propositions when people say everything is possible given enough time. Look, the idea, just to summarize the idea then, given enough time, everything is possible means you can be a potato, you can be a carrot, you can be a monkey, you can be a banana, everything is possible.
Turnip.
But how is it possible that everything is possible?
Time.
There are laws.
Well,
It doesn't make sense.
So I just want to summarize because I think, you're saying a lot of things, but we're, like you said, I agree with you. We don't disagree on that many things. And earlier when you were saying that, if you're kind to somebody or you do something for somebody or you're appreciative, that's worship. I don't particularly call it that, but to me, it's just being a good human. I think that's, honestly, I just think that's the base of human nature. Human nature wants to help people. Human nature wants to find similarities in people. So I think we believe in the same thing. We're just calling it two different things.
Yeah.
It's
So
the
I'm
same
not
idea.
asking you to do anything differently in a way, but I'm saying do it that in the recognition that you're doing this because this is the purpose of a creation of our Creator.
Humanity is my
It's like look, you can go.
Stop digging on.
You know what? You can come to my organization and work, but don't expect a salary at the end of the day because you're not employed. So do you see the point? You can do all of that as a good human being. You love, you care, you look after, and so on and so forth. But to be acceptable to God in the paradise or heaven He's created for, you have to acknowledge that yes, I am fulfilling my role here. That I'm acknowledging you first of all, my Creator. And I'm submitting to you and surrendering to you, and I will submit my life and live my life accordingly. Based on that, this is the contract that God has made with you, that you will have paradise and you will save yourself from hellfire. But if you just simply say, you know what, I will just do because all human beings doing though, then you don't expect a reward from God because,
That's fine with me.
Yeah.
But what's important to me is being nice and kind to
Very important.
people that are in front of me right now.
Yeah, but
Right?
God wants us, and He tells us clearly, look, to be saved from the hellfire, there are some conditions.
So
One,
we're going to go to hell still because we didn't acknowledge the correct way.
You're not sure.
you have to acknowledge your Creator and submit and surrender to this Creator.
So
That is a condition.
Does matter count? Does matter as my
Your
creator count?
is your matter going to reward you or punish you? What do you think?
What was the question?
When you say matter, you're talking about that matter thing rather than God.
Oh,
not.
yeah. Oh, it doesn't count?
It's not going to reward us. No.
Oh,
Yeah.
dang it. All right.
But you know justice and you understand justice.
Of course.
So there will be a day of judgment. So it's not just matter who will do the judgment, because someone who will do the judgment is conscious, aware, and knows the reality and your context and whether you were a criminal or not. Because the judgment has to be fair and just. That can only be God.
You can ask me a question.
Yeah.
We don't shake hands with women, even if it's a Muslim woman. It's just a showing respect. If it was my wife, if it was my wife, my daughter, my sister, for example,
Can we do a fist bump?
no, I'll tell you why. Because look, no. I want to just explain to you briefly. Look, people have taken in certain cultural norms of how we interact with people. Imagine I said, look, the way that we greet on someone is to kiss on the lips, hug them, and have sexual intercourse. You would say, outrageous. Get lost, you pervert. Do you see that? Because this is how cultural barriers and differences may be. Islam offers what we call the human interaction between man and woman, the opposite gender, and it tries to protect individual from any harm. Like imagine, I shake your hands, and you immediately you feel something like, and you leave him, and you become my second wife.
It's not gonna happen.
No.
You don't know.
No, that's
Sorry.
look. No. What I'm saying is, there are many people
Smiling.
who might be smarter than him, more handsome than him, and so on, and then you leave him because certain chemistry happen immediately.
Just because I shook someone's hand.
Yes,
Wow.
physical touch can make people. No. You don't think so because look, the first thing is when you touch someone with this
Chemicals.
a chemical reaction is already happening. chemical reactions.
Just like you
Islam prevents this unwanted chemical reaction by having this kind of look, by giving this private space. That's all. It's a sign of respect.
I was just
Of course, yeah.
Was
But
there
you
a
can
chemical reaction?
You know, shake her hands.
It's not that way.
Opposite gender. No, shake hands with the lady. Go on. Yeah, you can. See?
Shag.
Yeah, of course. But this is the private space we give. You know, even Jewish women, they won't shake hands.
Exactly.
Did you know that?
No.
They won't shake hands. Because they consider it to be, shaking hands is not a right, it's a privilege. And the privilege owners are the husband,
Husbands.
the brother, and so. Look, who?
It's a cultural thing, that's why.
This is what we need to understand. It's something that we can reflect on later, but the society has
Gonna
become.
go on some oppression rant now.
No. It's nothing to do with this. It's try to understand the differences. Look, I eat with my right hand. Now imagine I have my fork on the right hand, and everyone's looking at me. How uncivilized it is. You're in England, in the UK, but that's how our Prophet taught us to eat with the right hand. You have to understand the cultural sense.
My right hand.
Do you put the fork in the right hand?
Yeah.
Well, it's because we're American.
Because you're American. So now, being American, you can also appreciate in terms of the physical touch with greetings. There might be differences.
That's weird.
There might be differences. There might be differences. Yeah.
I'm not ambidextrous.
It's to protect untoward, unnecessary, some kind of interaction coming through. It's just
And we drive on the other side as well.
I have to look. I keep looking the wrong way.
Back there. Question.
Yeah, he had a question.
Can you guess my question?
yeah. Go ahead.
You
What's
said,
your name?
Kane.
Kane. Nice meeting you.
You said the Quran is the ultimate authority, correct?
For
For basically scientific,
hear the question.
No.
Go on. What's your question?
Scientific discoveries. You mentioned the oceanic plates, etc.
I never claim Quran is the ultimate authority of scientific discovery.
Wait.
So God has told us to go and explore the reality, explore the world, and understand the reality, right? And then gain knowledge about this reality.
Yeah.
What God has told us about the reality already, that is the absolute knowledge about things. But the Quran is simply saying, oh, leave your science and only follow the Quran and that's it. Do not do any scientific experimentation. No.
Okay. Well, what about the Islamic account of Muhammad coming down on a winged horse?
It wasn't a wing horse, it was a transportation medium. If I told you,
It's defined.
let me give you an example. 500 years ago, imagine some people saw that. Oh, look at it before it goes. Can you see in the sky?
The plane.
Oh, you call it a plane? Imagine that. And then people start parachuting from it. They will say, this is like a bird. And inside the bird, people fell from the sky. Yeah? Why would they say that? Because their level of understanding of this kind of reality isn't that much advanced. God took the Prophet in a particular medium called Buraq. It was so much faster, that is faster than any of the rockets and vehicles you can imagine. It was in the shape of, like this, like it had wings. Is that a bird when you saw the wings on the plane? It's not a bird just because it had wings. Because wings are there in the plane for it to stabilize with aerodynamics and so on. So that particular medium, it's described to be like a horse or like something like this, a buraq with wings and so on and so forth. That's all. But it's not like an animal.
Well, even with modern technology, there's no such medium that we've discovered that could transport a human.
I just told you, 500 years ago, people would not even imagine there's any technology to take people up in the sky and then take from one place to the other.
So are you basically claiming that that technology was there at that time?
I'm saying your particular assumption is, with our current set of knowledge of science, we cannot imagine a spaceship that goes faster than light, because it's impossible with our scientific theorem, right? Just like they thought, you can't break the atom anymore. And quantum mechanics come along, and now we can break the atom even further and further. Do you see how scientific revolution happens?
Of course,
That
yeah.
breaks the scientific status quo?
Yeah.
Right. What I'm saying is, Prophet ﷺ wasn't inventing a machine. It was a medium granted by God to take him, transport him from this earth to over 7 heavens.
So how come there's no scientific evidence of that? Why are there no fossil remains? Why are there no
The wind coast.
actual physical evidence other than just actual claims?
So when God transports a medium, you expect it to be there parked for you 1444 years later to put it on British Museum and say, this is what it happens.
But if such,
Look at your expectation.
but if such a device is so powerful, how can we not have any remnants of it that was remain?
I'm just telling you,
Because, for instance,
why do you expect?
billions of years ago.
No,
right?
why do you expect this particular vehicle,
Yeah.
transport medium, to be there parked in
I
Mecca?
didn't say parts. I'm saying at least evidence of that trip.
Can I just
The evidence we have is reports. Reports. People have
are
reported.
evidence.
Can I
I mean,
just
physical
give it? Has anyone found Noah's Ark?
Noah's Ark isn't.
He doesn't believe it exists.
But has he ever?
I'm not-
But he doesn't
I'm not
believe he
a Christian.
exists.
Oh, okay.
Right, brother, he doesn't believe. Right. So what I'm saying is, your expectation is not something that is justifiable, because I don't need to expect that everything the Prophet did, it needs to still be remnant here. What is remaining with us is the Quran, the ultimate evidence.
Well, I believe it is empirical evidence, and if there's no empirical evidence, it's just one claim against another.
Do you think everything requires empirical evidence?
Absolutely, yeah. If I was to believe something, if I, for instance, you talk about, for instance, the Crusades with the Christians and the Muslims. Think about how many people died in that war because of one. Because
Less than the secular wars committed by and the Second World War and the First World
again,
War.
ideology, beliefs, not empirical evidence.
Now, I'm just telling you,
You had the-
it's irrelevant how many people die between
Exactly,
wars.
that's what I'm trying to say.
So,
Empirical evidence is key because
okay,
empirical
do you have empirical evidence for gravity?
I'm not personally a scientist.
Do you believe in gravity?
Gravity is
No.
a law of nature.
I rephrase. Apologies.
I don't believe.
Do you
I don't
consider
believe-
gravity exists?
Yeah, it's a law of nature.
Good. Where is your empirical evidence for gravity?
It's not.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there's many studies backing it. I'm sure. If, for instance, gravity is different depending on which planet you're on. Gravity on
Do you know what
Earth
gravity is? Okay, let me tell you. What color is it?
Right, this. But we
How does it
can-
smell like? One second.
The fundamental line, it can be measured.
Kane,
That's
what
the
your
thing.
name is?
Kane, yeah.
Kane.
Yeah.
What color? How does it taste like? How does it feel like? Can I touch it? Can I sense it?
Can I see it?
Can I smell it? Can I see it?
Exactly. It's like here, isn't it?
The fundamental point is it can be measured.
No, the question
Oh, good. Can I measure it?
Yeah, you can measure.
Okay. So what am I measuring?
Again, I'm not claiming to be an expert in
the
physics.
effects of one state.
But what I'm saying is, it's
Do I have a wrench?
because we,
Isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You're
going to gravity.
Just
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, test
That's
it.
it.
Look.
yeah, that's gravity. Yeah.
What did you see?
What do you see?
don't.
What did you see?
£1.
What did you see? I saw 1 pint falling.
Yeah.
Did anyone see gravity?
Yes.
No, you see the
What color was it? What color was gravity?
It doesn't have a colour.
So what did you see then? You didn't see anything. Right. Did you?
That's what I'm saying.
Wait.
That's
Ken,
what
one
we should
second.
measure.
Let's build on it.
Step by step,
Let's
man.
build on it. So as it's falling, can I touch it? Feel it?
Yes. No, you
No. Gravity. So as it's falling,
You don't know.
no. Can I smell it?
No.
No. So where is gravity?
Around us.
No, that's what. It's actually green monster that's pulling it down. Green monster with 3 fingers pulling it down. You can't see it. It's invisible. 3-fingered green monster pulling it down.
But the key thing is you can measure.
One second. Do you see my 3-fingered green monster?
intelligent as someone like
You can't because it's invisible. So it could be that green monster, right? Exactly, because you don't know what it is. So now, gravity is an inference by looking at the effects, but gravity is the cause. We don't know gravity. We haven't established gravitons yet.
Can you say the same about God?
Wait. We established about empirical evidence, one step at a time. Just like photons, we know what photons are. We are working towards gravitons, to prove gravitons. We haven't proven gravity, we only inferring by looking at the effects. So we are saying this must have fallen because there is a cause behind it. We only see the effects. So you only saw the effect. You didn't see gravity. You are postulating the reason it fell is because of gravity. You're putting a cause behind this effect, which is called gravity. This universe is the effect of a cause we call the creator. You don't need to see the creator. You see the creation and you see the effect of it. Be consistent and say, I can see the effect, therefore there is a creator who has
We don't
produced.
know that yet, and that's the thing that I like.
But you said there was a gravity.
Let me finish.
Well, you said there was a free
No, listen.
I just made it up.
So why are you saying it's real then?
I didn't say it's real, but I'm saying there is something that is real, a force which we cannot see and we cannot measure.
Exactly.
We only measure the effects of it. We can say it's 9.81 meter per second or meter squared per second. Do you remember your physics? Right. What we're saying is this universe is an effect of a cause.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and
They
I
have
think
to apply the
scientists
same
agree on
thing,
that.
man.
And
So you believe in a creator.
the best theory they've got so far in against the theory is the Big Bang. But the thing that scientists say is that they say that's the best that we know to our knowledge. But they're open to changing their mind upon new evidence.
But do you know why I bring this example? Because you said empirical evidence. You believe in gravity without any empirical evidence.
But the empirical evidence is like
Okay.
measured depending on.
Have you
on the
seen your
context.
pancreas?
No, but I'm sure if I.
No. Have you seen it?
Not with my own eyes, but
Have you? No. Have you seen it?
But I'm not saying I've seen.
Excuse me.
I'm not
It's
saying
very important. Have you seen it?
Direct answer.
Obviously not.
Not. Does it exist?
Yes.
Okay. So you did not do any empirical observation and testing.
Well, I'm sure if I went to the.
No.
I'm sure I could
Listen.
prove my empirical evidence.
Listen to what I'm saying. You have not done any experimentation. You have not observed it by empirical experimentation, but you still affirm it. Why are you not going to be consistent? You affirm the existence of your brain, your pancreas, your liver, even though you have seen it yourself. You haven't done the experiments, but you affirm by inference that I've seen in human beings they need a kidney and a pancreas and a liver.
Let me refrain then. I'm pretty sure I have a pancreas, but I can't be 100%.
How are you pretty sure?
Let me.
How are you pretty sure?
Consistent.
How are you pretty sure?
My approach.
How are you certain? Did you do an
No, I'm
experimentation?
not certain. I'm saying I'm pretty sure. But if you could give me 5 minutes to get in touch with a GP, and I could.
No. How are you sure now?
I'm not, because like you said,
You're not.
I'm being
So
consistent with
basically,
my
this is your
approach.
blind faith.
It's not blind faith.
What is it then?
It's an assumption.
Assumption. Good.
So what is assumption?
So you assume. So now you believe in things through assumptions. You assume things to be
Back to the
true.
point of gravity, that is empirical. That is something that is objectively measured.
No.
If you-
I explained to you already. It's just an observation of the effect. Observation of the effect.
I don't think the
What is that?
Observation of the effect.
It's one of the fundamental laws.
One moment. Brother, one
It's one of
discussion.
the fundamental laws of nature.
No. We infer it because we don't know, we can't see it, but we
And
infer.
that's what scientists do. There's only so
Brother, can we have one discussion?
there's only so many variables you can control for. But once all the variables or the main variables have been controlled for, that's when you can infer the differences. It's when for instance, when a detective investigates a murder, they can't be 100% certain that the murderer actually committed the murder. They have to make inferences, but they make inferences on hard evidence.
Sure. Okay.
And that's all I'm doing.
Okay.
So, for instance, let me just finish my point.
Go ahead.
So, if I was to pick a path, whether it be, path of atheism, Islam, Christianity, I want to make sure that I have the best evidence before I make that. So, I want to go with whatever path has the most evidence. And from my personal understanding, I'm still young, but with the evidence I have at hand, atheism makes the most sense because the evidence is actually there. No.
Share with me this evidence of atheism that God doesn't exist and the universe came from nothing.
I might be incorrect, but I believe that Islam doesn't actually believe in the theory of evolution.
No.
Atheism,
Your
not Islam.
Your
position. Provide positive evidence for your assertion or your
Atheism.
belief, because you said out of all of this, this one makes sense. So now try to make sense with us. Tell us how atheism makes sense about the reality.
Because atheism relies on empirical evidence to assert its claims.
No.
It believes
Atheism has nothing to do with empirical evidence.
Sometimes people should keep quiet, man. Just make them say, oh my
and
God.
why is that such a
Okay. So according to the atheistic paradigm, explain the existence of something rather than nothing.
Don't go there. The something,
Why does something exist rather than nothing?
because the something's always existed.
Now, according to atheistic paradigm, share with me that atheistic logic and reason can answer this question, that something exists rather than nothing.
I think you're into like word riddles, but
I'm not riddles.
no, no,
Do you know what something is? You are something. This is something.
Which is
Yeah?
showing it's always
Nothing is absence of anything. That's the concept. So why does something exist? Why does something exist rather than being absolute nothingness?
Right, so you're going with the logic of 0 times 0 is
I'm not
0.
going anywhere. I'm asking you, according to the atheistic paradigm, explain to me why does something exist rather than nothingness?
Some kind of chemical reaction has to occur for something to exist. So if we talk about
Let me tell you. Why isn't there nothing? And that's it. No, nothing. We're not here. Nothing here. Everything, non-existence. Why wasn't that case?
well, the best theory theory we have is that there exists multiple dimensions. So there's multiple realities.
I'm saying, why are there even multiple dimensions? Why aren't there simply nothing?
The Big Bang.
No, I'm saying, why are there even not nothing? And why is there Big Bang?
Because something.
Why isn't there?
existed.
You are on a different level, a different operating. You're not in the same atheistic paradigm, so it's not going to help you. I'm asking you, my
have to
friend
comprehend what
Kane.
somebody's talking, brother.
Nothingness is the absence of everything.
No, you don't
Why isn't it the case? Why isn't the status quo, the default position, that there is nothing? Why is there something in the first place? Why isn't there simply nothing? And that's it, nothing. No God, no existence, no humans, no evolution, no dinosaurs, simply nothing.
Something has to exist.
Why? Why?
Because for anything to happen, it's got to be a reaction from.
No, not happening. I'm saying, why does it need to exist in the first place? Why isn't there nothingness? Why isn't there nothingness as a default position? You are an atheistic paradigm in your reasoning. Tell me from your atheistic paradigm, why isn't the default position nothing?
At one point there was nothing.
At one point there was nothing?
At one point there was
Okay, let's hear it. If at one point there was nothing, how did something come from this nothing?
Exactly.
That's what scientists are still trying to investigate.
Okay. What is nothing? It's absence of energy, matter, time, space, gravity, fluctuation, potential, possibilities. It's absence of everything. When such a state is there, there is no possibility to form something. There is no potential to form something. There is nothing to become something. It simply is a state of affairs when there's absolute nothingness. If you affirm there was absolute nothingness, then absolute nothingness will always remain. It will always be absolute nothingness. Something will not come out of it. Something to come out, something, it needs an agency, it needs energy or power, and so on and so forth. There was nothing there.
It needs something to do.
Exactly. There wasn't anything there. So there will be
I'm operating a little
never,
different
there will be
way.
never something
That's what he said.
if there was absolute nothingness. But we are something now, and that's why the gentleman is correct. There has to be always something. That's what the Islamic position is, which is God, the creator, always. But I'm asking you from the atheistic paradigm, why is there not nothing and something instead?
We don't know yet.
It's not about we don't know. You have an atheistic paradigm, which you said, did you not say it makes more sense? Go on, make sense to us.
No.
I don't want your ignorance. Look, brother, I don't want your ignorance about something, oh, we will know in the future. You said it makes sense. So now tell me, make sense with us that according to your atheistic paradigm, something came from nothing or something came from something, whatever, and it's never nothingness. Tell me.
Like I said, it came from the Big Bang. That's why.
Big Bang
That's where.
is something.
Yeah.
When you have a bang, it's something.
Yeah.
I'm saying, why wasn't there nothing in the first place?
And that's what I don't know yet.
But you said it made sense from your atheistic paradigm.
Yeah, from the timeline of the Big Bang.
No, atheistic paradigm you're using. I didn't say it makes sense to you. So now if you're using a paradigm which doesn't give you the answers, okay, what are the assumptions of atheism?
The assumptions of atheism is that there isn't a God. God doesn't exist. Because if God, for instance, is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, exactly, yeah. X amount of phenomena wouldn't have happened or would still happen. So, and the way that.
Have you heard about the problem of evil?
Let me out.
This is how the atheists argue. God is good, there is evil, there is suffering, there is cold, and there's pain. So that means God doesn't exist. We ask the atheists, if there was no evil, does that mean God exists?
That's not the main point I take.
It's not a main point, but that's how the bad arguments atheists come up with against God, right? So we will say, if there was no evil, does that prove God exists? No atheist will say it proves God exists, because they know that it has nothing to do with evil and good. God existence has nothing to do with good and evil. Because if it was with evil means God doesn't exist, if there's no evil, God exists.
Yeah.
You see? It must follow God exists.
Can you answer this for me before I provide my next point? I'm not sure if Islam leaves this or not, but do you believe in basically everything is a test? Is that what you believe?
We believe life is a test.
Okay, if that's the case, then how is it a test? If, for instance, if I was to give birth and my baby was to die in its mother's womb, how would that be a test for that baby?
It's not a test for the baby, it's a test for you.
Life is created though. Like
No. That baby will have his own recompense, will have his own tests later again, right? Or you'll go to, there's two positions. This child goes to paradise, or this baby is given the...
Would it go to paradise as a
if you allow me to finish, do you understand the positions?
Yeah.
Either the baby is then given the ability to have intellectual faculty to develop and then go through a test, and then they will have that test, or they go to paradise directly, right? Two positions, no problem with either one. Test is for you as a parent. Did you remain in patience, in reliance with God, or did you become an atheist just because you lost a child?
Would the fetus go to paradise as a fetus, or because how would it ever grow?
According to the Islamic understanding, a human being is only a human being when the soul is infused in the fetus. Before it's infused, it's in a vegetative state, it's not a human being. A human being is when you have a soul infused into the body. So the soul doesn't come in day one. The soul comes in later.
So despite brain activity, the soul doesn't exist, is that what you're saying?
It's a vegetative state. It's not a human being. So this is our position. But let's help you with your understanding. So, like this gentleman, what's your name? Martin. Martin, accept there has to be always something. Do you accept that? If something exists now, can there be a time there was absolute nothingness? The answer is cannot be, because from absolute nothingness you can't get something.
Like I said, my beliefs begin from the Big Bang. Before the Big Bang, I'm not sure.
No, what I'm saying is, if something exists now, if you go back in time, at one point there cannot be absolute nothingness, because from nothingness you get nothingness.
Simple.
The fact that you have something, you have to always have something. That is not atheism.
Exactly.
That is now believing in something that always exists.
I've not claimed that. I've said.
I am saying this is demonstrably true. There is no way out of it. You have to.
That's what we're still investigating.
Now I ask.
Even, for instance, string theory is
What is string theory?
recent.
What is string theory?
String theory believes that basically light can be measured through in the form of waves.
Well, leave it.
At high level.
Okay. Fine. You know what? This brother is a physicist. So now tell him, what do you understand by string theory?
I only know a high level of it. That's all.
Sorry? What is it?
Let me confirm you. In string theory, you need dimension, you need energy, you need string. So these concepts you need together. I mean, at the first hand. So why do you get these things at all? I mean, it begins this universe from. So you need something.
Yeah, it all stems from the Big Bang. That's
No, the Big Bang is a result of that. They proposed the M theory that this, due to this dynamics of this M membranes, you get a task in the vibrating membrane, and you get energy burst, and then Big Bang happens. That is a way of explaining. But there is, you need at first time, you need dimension, you need time, you need 9 special dimension and on time, and then you need energy, ability of this string, highly powerful energy, and then quantum field. And quantum field, even physicists do not know how much energy is there. I mean, in this vacuum, even we know only 5% of this universe. we know nothing know about the law of dark energy, dark matter. Okay.
Exactly.
So do you realize something? So this is a sign for you that in our discussion, you have been provided with a physicist to answer even your question.
Yeah, and
Just think about it.
We don't know a lot.
No. Think about it. You need all of this. Where did this come from?
We're still investigating. We don't know.
Look, it's not what we don't know. These things don't
We didn't even know the Big Bang
These
existed.
things don't pop into existence from nowhere.
Over 100 years ago, we
So
didn't
you
even know
know
the Big Bang
that
existed.
you know that this cannot be without. I mean, this cannot be from nothing. You know, these things are concepts.
It's a reality.
To create concept, you need human intelligence. So space have to have certain properties. I mean, space is not something like a randomly some concept. I mean, you have certain concept associated with space, certain properties linked with time. So these are well organized and well defined. So even in mathematics, you have to define relations. Otherwise, define quantities. What does that mean? It will not create anything. You have to give certain characteristics to do these concepts and in relation to these things. Then only you will run with energy and then you produce the universe. So at first hand you have to have a comprehensive plan that if I start with these things and run and then things come up like this, meaningful things. So like that, even if you toss a coin, you never get 6 like in a Ludo kind of things. So even if you run it randomly, you always have to have initial setting that what I will get after tossing this random run. So in the initial setting, you have to have some initial design. Initial plan you need first hand. You know, so therefore this existence of everything, you have law, you have energy, you have meaningful creation. So that means that a ability is working behind from this universe to create law. Law does not create itself, and then law does not enforce itself. You have to, I can write a constitution, okay, but I cannot enforce it. Nothing happens according to this law. Okay, to bring anything meaningful with a constitution, we need first-hand proper law design, conceptualization, and then you need energy, ability to enforce that. You have to ensure that every step this law is ensured. So we are standing because this gravity is being ensured. We take this for
Let me
granted.
just interject a second.
Sorry.
So, like I said, my understanding starts at the Big Bang. I might have to go back and, revisit some of my